What is up, everybody? We are in a 2024 Toyota Camry SE. For many years, many decades really, the family car go-to car class in North America was the midsize sedan. And within that segment, the absolute king was the Toyota Camry, which is actually honestly pretty fitting because, little known fact, or maybe it's a well-known fact, I don't know. Camry means crown in Japanese, or at least it kind of roughly means crown. Here's the breakdown. Camry in Japanese, at least this is what I've read, means crown, and then Camry is like an anglicized version of the Japanese word Camry. But if we think about today's day and age, the de facto family car is no longer the midsize sedan. In fact, it's probably the compact SUV. That's what everyone is purchasing. Everyone wants a tall car, a big car, and they want an SUV. But what I'm left wondering is, why did that shift happen? If the midsize sedan was so good for so long at being a family car, is that no longer the case? Does it not do those things appropriately anymore? And that's really what I want to figure out by driving this Camry here today, seeing how it stacks up in 2024, going into 2024 at least, as a proper family hauler. Okay, so what really is a family car? Number one, it should be practical, right? It's putting in you, your whole family, all your cargo, and it needs to be able to practically carry that. And to me, I would put comfort in with that category. Like, comfort and practicality is one thing. Secondly, of course, it needs to be reliable. It needs to be able to do those things, cargo, people, etc., for a very long time, and it needs to be able to do it consistently without really failing on you. And something that I would also put into that category is ease of use. You know, that kind of, to me, is similar to reliability. You want to be able to drive a car every day that's a family car without really thinking about it, and ease of use and reliability both play at that same want or that same need. And lastly, it needs to be emotional. It needs to have a little something special to make sure that you're enjoying driving it every single day. So those are the three attributes that I think a family car should really possess. And I think the Camry does a very good job at all three of those. And let's dive into it by looking at different aspects of this car with the lens of those three attributes. Now let's talk a little bit about the exterior styling. It's not super critical for a family car because, like I said, you're spending most of your time inside. But it does speak to my third point about, you know, wanting a little bit of emotion from your car. And oftentimes when you park or when you're going into your car and you look at the car, you feel a little something, you know, and that is something that adds to the overall experience of a car. And same situation for family car. You want that little bit of spice, a little bit of excitement from looking at the car. Now, this generation of Camry that we're in, I personally think is the best looking generation of Camry in a long, long time. Definitely looks better than the generation that it succeeded. And in my opinion, it also looks better than the generation that it's going to precede, because the next generation Camry, while it adopts Toyota's more modern styling language, is more of an adaptation of this car. So the newer styling doesn't really sit as well on the car as this styling. And this styling is amazing. Very aggressive up front, aggressive in the back, especially with the SE trim that I'm in today. Has a lot of like little additional flourishes and flares to make it seem like it's a sports car. And some of them are a little bit gimmicky, the fake vents and whatnot, but they all come together very nicely, very cohesively to make the car look a little bit more dynamic and performance-oriented than a traditional family car. And the front fascia in particular is extremely aggressive. I think it looks good. I didn't like it when it first came out, but it has grown on me a lot, and it's also aged very well. This Camry came out in 2018, so we're going on a car that's almost 5 or 6 years old, and it still looks modern and fresh in my eyes. The rear end is also a great example of that style language that's held its age very well, but overall the package of the car still looks like a Camry and still looks like something that can be a great family car, but will give you a little bit of that emotional spice from the way that it looks. So, and I think the interior space is the most critical area for a family car because that's where you and your family will be spending the most amount of time. Practicality and comfort. Let's start with the front seats. Extremely comfortable for me. I'm 5'9", 5'10". Really no complaints. It's very easy for me to set up a appropriate driving position. No problem. Passenger seat, lots of space. Rear seat, lots of space. Space is not really an issue for the Camry, and you can see that because it's a very popular car for ride-sharing apps where space is very paramount. So clearly space is a forte of the Camry, and the Camry has a very large trunk. As far as sedans go, obviously it's not gonna have the vertical height of an SUV, but most often you're probably just gonna be putting stuff at a lower level anyways, and that's when that lower level space comes into play. And the Camry has tons of lower level space in the trunk. Also, the seats fold flat in a 60-40 split, so if you do wanna carry longer items, that's really no issue. Other attributes about the interior that I think play into the family car requirements, you know, it needs to be easy to use, and it needs to be put together to last a long time, and that it needs to be reliable. And the Camry also excels in that. This is something that Toyota has been doing for a long time. It's their bread and butter. They know how to put together a reliable and durable car. Toyota is always very selective about the materials that they use, and everything in here is durable, long lasting, and you can tell that it's going to be looking like this for a very, very long time. So reliability and durability in the interior should be no problem. It's also a very, very friendly and very easy car to drive. Tons of physical buttons. Climate control, a lot of cars have moved that into the infotainment. Not the Camry. The Camry still has it separated from the infotainment, and it's extremely clean, extremely easy to use. I actually think Toyota has some of the cleanest climate inputs in the whole game. You really can't beat Toyota when it comes to ease of use for climate controls. And overall, I would say the interior space is a great place to be in from a style perspective as well, because it has these cool swoops and cool creases, and it definitely creates some kind of emotion in you compared to some of the more sterile cabins in the class. There are some things about the interior that I don't really love, but we'll get into those later on in the video. Next up, what's important is the way that the car drives. More often than not, most likely, this car is not going to be pushed when it's being used for family car duty. It's not going to be taking any back roads, any canyon carving type situations. So you don't really need a stiff suspension that can handle those kinds of loads that are being put at it. But it does need to be softly sprung because it's going to go through maybe some bumpy roads, some uneven terrain, maybe some snow driving, some gravel driving. That's the kind of stuff that you would get in a family car if you're taking it on a trip somewhere. From that perspective, the Camry is very well damped, and the suspension setup is perfect for that exact use case. If you are someone who enjoys a spirited driving experience, if that's where you get your emotional value from a car, the Camry most likely won't be as up to the task as some of the other options in this class. But from a pure comfort and everyday kind of relaxation perspective, the Camry is set up great. There's actually 3 powertrain options and 2 drivetrain options with the Camry. So firstly, you can get it in this standard 2.5 liter 4-cylinder engine. Peppy enough, you know, enough power to kind of get you about your day-to-day driving. No real issues on the highway or in town. If you want more efficiency, there's a hybrid setup that you could go for. Or if you're someone who wants a little bit more grunt, a little bit more power on the day-to-day, the Camry still offers a V6 option. And that's very rare in the midsize class in 2023, 2024, because almost everyone has moved to a Turbo 4 or a hybrid, and no one really offers a V6 anymore. And this is actually going to be the last year that you can get a Camry with a V6, because the next generation Camry is moving to a hybrid only powertrain selection. So if you want a V6 Camry, you want that grunt, and it's a beautiful smooth engine, this is the year to get. There's also 2 drivetrain options. There's front wheel drive, and you can get that with every single engine option. There's snow, you need a little bit more power in the back, the all-wheel drive has got your back. And with all of those powertrain and drivetrain options, firstly, you're getting the luxury of choice, so you can get it exactly how you want it. And you're also getting stellar fuel economy and stellar reliability with all of those configurations. You really have. So earlier on, I said there's a few issues in this car, a few things that don't really sit right with me, and they're not very big, they're not major, which is why I've kept them kind of tucked in here at the back of the video. And I also think that they happen to be intentional because of the choices that Toyota has made. So let's get into them. Firstly, or I guess they could all be summarized under this one umbrella. Basically, there's certain attributes about the car that feel a little bit gruff or unrefined, so to speak. For example, the base engine, the base powertrain here, the 2.5 liter 4-cylinder, extremely reliable, extremely fuel efficient. But under open throttle, like aggressive open throttle, or just while you're at idle, it feels a little bit coarse or a little bit rough. And I think the reason why this is the case is because a lot of the competition has moved to smaller turbo engines, and they've moved to CVTs and focused more on refinement. But Toyota has focused more on reliability and efficiency, and they've stuck to an engine and transmission combination that really works. So that's point number one. Feels a little bit more gruff, but that's likely because of the engine powertrain combo and the focus on reliability. The second point is very similar to the first one. The hard plastic in the Camry just feels a little bit like scratchy or coarse again. I mean, you can kind of hear it here maybe. It just feels a little bit scratchier than the hard plastics used in some of the competitors. And again, I think that's because Toyota has focused on selecting materials in the car that will stand the test of time, that'll look good for a long time, that'll function and fit together as they need to for a long time. The expense of that is that they do feel a little bit coarse. Again, if you want ultimate reliability, ultimate durability, this is actually a pro, in my opinion. And third point, also surprisingly or unsurprisingly, falls within the same realm, and that is the infotainment and technology in the car. Infotainments have become critical for cars. A lot of buyers want the best infotainment system that you could possibly get, the best tech that you could possibly get. In the Camry, you get a great set of features, but the infotainment system just looks a little bit more dated and a little bit more clunky than the newer infotainment systems that are out there. The screen's a little bit small, the interface looks a little bit old, touch response isn't the best, but it's gonna start up every single time, it's gonna work as intended every single time, and it's gonna be easy to use from a UI perspective. And you're getting a infotainment that's easy to use and reliable, but maybe not as modern as what else is out there. But basically, Toyota has focused on reliability, durability, longevity, and because of that, some things start to feel a little bit dated or a little bit old. But again, that's by design, it's intentional, because Toyota is seeking to make the most reliable, durable car that they can. So in conclusion, is the Camry still a good family car? We looked at the practicality and the comfort in all aspects. We looked at reliability and ease of use. We also looked at if the Camry gives any kind of emotional response or an emotional reaction when you sit in it or drive it or look at it. And I think the Camry meets all three of those things exceptionally well. So therefore, I guess it makes a great family car. If you are someone who doesn't really want the height of an SUV, if you don't care about that, or if you don't care about the vertical cargo space in an SUV, don't feel obligated to get an SUV as a family car, because as we've seen today, a traditional midsize sedan like this Camry still makes a terrific family car. And sometimes on the used market, the values of sedans have become more favorable than the values of similar SUVs. Also, the Camry is probably one of the best options in its class in terms of an overall balance of several attributes. I mean, the class is dwindling. There's not that many options left to begin with. That being said, the Camry still provides a really good package when everything is put together and considered at once. Let me know what you think. Drop a comment below. Would you get a midsize sedan? Are you gonna get an SUV? Or if you were to get a midsize sedan, is the Camry the one you're picking? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate all the engagement, all the support, and I will catch you next time with another review. Thanks for watching the Auto 101.